Okay, I think we are ready. I'll call this meeting to order. Rebecca, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Here.
Hallie,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Toohill.
Council, is there any changes to the agenda tonight? If not, we'll go to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the August 24th, 2020 council meeting. Approval of September 4th, 2020 payroll in the amount of $126,285.74. Approval of USDA Step 1 debt in the amount of $12,975. Approval of CoBank interim financing debt in the amount of $22,279.13. Approval of amended park use permit, First Baptist Church, that's for the noise exemption, they just changed the date. Approval of total claims in the amount of $1,167,640.30. Claims greater than $75,000 include Alliant Energy for $79,338.72 and Maxwell Construction for Step 2 in the amount of $762,309.32.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Gandy, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Thank you. Apparently, there's no public forums or appearances, so we will move on to resolution, action items, and ordinances. The first resolution is consideration of the fiscal year 2020 street finance report, and Rebecca will talk about that.
This is an annual event for us. We have to approve this every year so we get more money. It just goes through what our beginning balances were, what our expenses were, revenues, and our ending balance.
Anything unusual or different this year?
No.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Flournoy. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Thank you. That was approved unanimously to approve the street finance report. Next resolution, consideration of tax abatement application for 2103 West Burlington Avenue. That's the new commercial building out west. Any questions or discussion about that? Not, we'll take a,
I move that we approve the request for tax abatement.
Second.
okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Gandy. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Thank you. Approved unanimously. Next action item, consideration to accept proposed street improvements on Monroe Avenue paving project as final. And do we have someone here from French Rent-A-Car to?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I guess what we have before you tonight is accepting the Monroe Avenue paving project. This was completed by Jones Contracting Corp. Most of the work was completed in, I believe it was May. We kind of held on to it a little bit just to make sure the seeding would grow. Reviewing it with Daryl and Melanie, obviously it's not as lush as you would like it to be, but given the the conditions we had this summer, it was pretty comparable to the yards that were out there. Therefore, we're willing to recommend accepting the project.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Gandy, second by Anderson. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Move faster.
Gandy,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Thank you. Approved unanimously. Next action item, consideration of proposals for appraisers for the Highway 1 South project. Melanie.
Good evening. On the Highway 1 improvements from Libertyville Road to Fillmore Avenue, the city is the project manager for this, and therefore we are required to do the right-of-way acquisition. Part of the acquisition process includes hiring appraisers and review appraisers. Appraisals are required when the compensation estimate is more than $25,000, which is only a few parcels. it's also required when the property owner hires their own appraiser. And in our case, there are 6 properties that have connections to the city and/or this project. And so we intend to do appraisals on those for transparency purposes. We sent out a request for proposals for appraisal and review appraisal services, and we received 3 back. Based off of, all of the companies had similar qualifications. They're all pretty much exactly the same distance from the city of Fairfield. So based off of the fees that they provided, I'm recommending selection of Iowa Appraisals and Research Corporation for appraisal services. Their proposal is attached to the document. And, this company also did the appraisals for step 2, so we've had experience with them.
My knowledge is right, they look a little more expensive, but they do more.
This company provided their appraisal fee and their review appraisal fee on the same proposal. The company that we're recommending for review appraisals, provided them on separate sheets. Yes, this was not the low bid for appraisals, but because of our experience with them, it was, I think, $200 per appraisal difference. I felt that based off of their qualifications, it was, we wanted to recommend them.
Move to approve.
Okay, moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Thank you. So the next action item would be the proposal for review appraisers.
And I would recommend Hattery Real Estate Appraisal LLC at $800 per review appraisal for those services.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve proposal.
Moved by Gandy,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Thank you. That was approved unanimously. Next action item, consideration of the Crow Creek Bridge 28E agreement with Jefferson County. Aaron, you going to talk about that?
Yeah, the county supervisors haven't necessarily been presented this 2080 agreement yet, but with some back and forth from the county engineer, we've kind of come to overall general agreement that this 2080 will be acceptable. We will have to, in the future, write a memorandum of understanding to work on annexations in the area along with street maintenance agreements with them, which we've been trying to get to, but we haven't got to very quickly. So there was a lot more to this 2080 agreement originally, but we've got it narrowed down to the bridge and the area around the bridge and how to handle that. So Melanie and I are pretty comfortable with this. I know, Darren, do you have a comment about the 2080?
The county is willing to accept the agreement as you guys are presenting it to us right now, with just the bridge being turned over and the ground around it for the maintenance of it on into the future. We would like to see the other agreement talking about the annexations that have went on in the past and where the current city limit lines are, and having those reestablished so that once we get into the future with possibility of relocating the Parkview Care Center drive, then we won't have any problems with that, or ones that are kind of unforeseen right now with not having that agreement in place. So we're willing to accept this agreement that's been proposed.
I've actually I started trying to write a memorandum of understanding, but I think we're going to need to sit down and have a conversation to get a little bit further down the road before we can really put a memo together to make it more realistic document. But in order for this to get through and for us to get to work on the Crow Creek Bridge, we have to have our application in by October 1st, and we have to have the transfer of jurisdiction for the bridge to the DOT and accepted before we can apply for the grant. So we've kind of been trying to get this through.
And this would be for replacement next year then?
I think it would be next fiscal year.
Right, it
Yeah.
should be next fiscal year. The grant money, as Aaron said, the application is due October 1. We typically find out around the first of the year whether we receive funding. That grant that we are applying for is 100% funding of construction costs. In the fiscal year that we're currently in, we have already budgeted funds for some of the design engineering associated with this work. Depending on the design and if there's any easements or anything like that, it could be next construction season, but it'd likely be this 22 before construction. We'll start work on it as soon as we receive the grant money. Just depends on how long design takes.
And that
Is this
will
a new
include,
application, or isn't there some money reserved already for this project?
There is some money in our capital improvements plan for it, and that's for the engineering.
I met with the DOT.
Yes, and that's what's in the agreement is when the bridge was transferred from the DOT to the county received some, $150,000. And so this agreement says that once the jurisdiction is completely transferred to the city and the DOT accepts it, that then the city will receive those funds from the county, and that will pay for the remaining amount of engineering during construction.
So I would move that we approve the 28E agreement between the city and the county for the Crow Creek Bridge.
Second.
it's been moved by Flournoy, second by Anderson.
One point of discussion, it would be good to get that funny little loop that's not city property fixed. That's what you're talking about, or
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
it would be odd for the city to own the bridge and it be technically outside city limits. So what, right now, the city borders come up slightly east of this bridge along Burlington, loop down west of the bridge, cross Burlington, go back up, close to Parkview, actually past Parkview. I think the property east of Parkview is city. So there's this funny little loop that was meant to make sure that it's clear this wasn't our bridge. If we're going to take the bridge, we should probably annex the land as well. So I'm not going to make any sort of motion that this is contingent, but it is a good idea to clean that up. You guys are working on it.
And Aaron and I completely agree. We just didn't have a chance to get the annexation description put together in order for it to be part of this agreement.
Okay.
Absolutely, that would be the intent.
Okay, good.
And I just have one other question, Mel. When that is reconstructed, the trail is under there too, so that will be all part of the engineering, et cetera, correct?
Yep. Any work associated with the trail is eligible construction costs. The only thing that would not be eligible construction costs would be any artwork, decorative lighting, anything specialty that we would want to add, but the trail is all eligible.
Great, thank you. Okay, any other additional questions or conversation? Okay, if not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes,
Gandy.
Yes.
Thank you, that was approved unanimously. Next resolution, consideration to request reimbursement from the Iowa COVID-19 Government Relief Fund.
This is the same resolution that you had last time. However, going through the process of filling out the paperwork for this, it appears to me that we will be able to request more funds this time around than before. And since I have a day to still submit the grant, I want to replace the former resolution with this one that has a higher dollar amount so that we can request a higher dollar amount on this request for the CARES Act.
So this action item really is to rescind the last one and replace it with this.
How much difference is there?
$60,000.
60,000 to the plus?
in the plus. I'm not gonna say I'm right, but we'll submit it this way, and if they say, well, no, you only get the 130,000, that's fine, but then we can also, there's another time frame where we can submit again for more dollars, so we'll do that too.
So we need two motions, one to rescind the first resolution.
You can do it all
I
in
think
one.
we can do it in one vote.
Yep. This resolution is rescinding and replacing the old one.
I'll move to replace and rescind the resolution from last meeting for request of reimbursement for Iowa COVID-19 Governmental Relief Fund with the resolution in tonight's agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Flournoy, second by Gandy. Any other
Yeah.
discussion?
Hallie.
Oh, excuse me, Holly, sorry. I don't know why I said that. They just pop into my mind sometimes.
Waited.
Right?
I thought it was
Because he was
gonna
asking
Sorry.
a question.
It happens. Moved by Hallie, second by Gandy. Any additional questions? Okay, if not, please call the roll.
Hallie,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Next is a public hearing on the matter of proposing disposal after vacating real estate interest of city easement. So I will open the public hearing. And I don't believe we have anybody here, so I will close the public hearing. And we'll go on to the resolution of proposing disposal after vacating of real estate of city easement. So John, do you want to just remind the council again and the public what we're doing?
Yeah, we're at the last step on 3 or 4 step process now that we've had the public hearing after notice on disposal. You have a resolution that directs the conveyance and it authorizes the mayor and the clerk to execute a quitclaim deed for the real estate interest easements back to the adjacent owners that exchanged different easements that the city needed. So you've already been through the vacating process, approving the exchange. So all you need to do is direct these to go back, okay?
So moved.
Moved by Anderson,
Second.
second by Ham. Any other discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Okay, so we're at the third and final reading for ordinance number 1193, amending City Code 10.34 concerning prohibited parking to additionally limit and restrict various forms of parking, including right-of-way parking.
Motion to approve?
Okay, moved by Anderson,
Second.
second by Gandy.
Doug.
Discussion?
Just so you're aware, we're not going to publish this until we have a permit process in place. That way the ordinance does not, I know most of you are aware of that. I'm doing this for the general public who happens to be listening more than anything. We do have, Melanie has come up with, we're getting closer to a final process as far as an application process. So this shouldn't drag on too long, just for information, as far as before we get this in
Any
place.
estimate of the time?
Yeah. Okay, so no.
So our normal procedure is to publish immediately?
Yes,
So do we need to include a delay in the motion?
we've already
That was
talked
dealt
about
with
that.
last meeting.
We are going to delay it until we have the permitting process in place.
But I agree with Doug. I think I would like to ask for an amendment in the motion that we state it clearly, that we're passing this contingent that it not be published until the permitting process is in place.
I think that's a good idea.
So, would you be willing to make that amendment, Katie
Sure.
and Doug, or Paul?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. I'd just like to, did anybody get any comments, any calls? Okay.
I've had a few comments in favor, and I would say it's 50-50 from the comments. I haven't been overwhelmed with comments, but I've had 2 or 3 positive comments regarding this, and I've had 2 or 3 negative comments, so.
Yeah, I think a couple comments that I've had are that they're a lot more than what we realize, and also from landlords who have probably taken a single-family home and made that a 2 or 3 apartment complex, where there's no on-street parking, there's not enough to do off-street parking, like maybe in the back of the house, off the alley, and so they have, at some point along the way, gravelled or paved some right-of-way parking. So I anticipate we'll hear from those people a little bit louder when this comes through, but they can apply for this.
Correct. And we've been talking about this for,
6 or 7 years?
and a couple, and actually doing the ordinance here for the last 6 weeks or more.
Yeah.
So speak now or forever hold your peace.
It was also requested
Well, that won't happen.
or suggested that we, once it's public, that we put a flyer in the water bill, which I thought was a good idea, actually. So I'm just going to throw that out there, that maybe we could do that so that it's more clear for people. Alrighty, so we do have a motion on the table to do this at third and final reading with the caveat that it won't be
Published.
published until this permit process is in place. So if there's no other discussion, please call the roll.
Anderson?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Allie?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Lorna?
Yes.
Okay, that was passed unanimously. Under the mayor's report, I do have a proclamation for Constitution Week, which is September 17th through the 20th. This was requested by the Daughters of American Revolution organization. Whereas September 17th, 2020 marks the 233rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document in its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore, I, Connie Boyer, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of Fairfield, Iowa, do hereby claim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Fairfield to be affixed this 14th day of September of the year of our Lord 2020. Okay, and then I'd like to set a date for the fall work session. Did you have some dates in mind, Aaron?
Well, I guess I got a couple questions. If we're going to look at the capital improvement plan and some things like that, we probably aren't going to be able to, along with having a preliminary budget discussion, we probably aren't going to be ready to do that until mid-November, because the auditors are coming in October, and they have asked us to keep our end of the year stuff open until they get here, so we can't finalize last year's fiscal year until the auditors get here.
Yeah.
So if we want to discuss goals and stuff like that, we could set something up in October but then we were still gonna have to have a work session as far as discussing capital improvement and budget stuff in November
Right.
at some point. So if we want to do that, I would recommend November 14th for that type of a discussion, or possibly be able to move it till later. But if you want to do something in October as far as goals and stuff, we could do that too.
Do you want to do it just all in one meeting? And certainly if you have things that you want to discuss, if you'll let me know, so we can get it on the agenda.
So we're talking about 2 months, or roughly 2 months by the suggestion.
November
November 14th.
That's a Saturday, so yeah,
Right,
we
roughly 2
come
hours.
in 8 o'clock in the morning or 9.
Or 10.
Yeah.
And then go till noon-ish
Yeah.
would be the goal.
Is everybody okay with that, just doing it in one? I think we can get it done in one work session. Okay, so let's mark that as November 14th, 9 a.m.
I thought Becca said 6.
AM?
Okay. I don't need an official vote on that, do I? No? Okay. All righty. City Attorney Report. Do you have anything, John?
Nothing to that.
Committee and board reports. Michael?
Economic Development Committee met tonight. We had 3 agenda items. The first was just an informal discussion about some of the wording for the mixed-use zone ordinance. So we discussed that, and Melanie's reworking that. Hopefully, we'll have our informal meeting possibly in November with the Planning and Zoning Commission, so that the public can get a view of what we're talking about, provide provide their input, yes, and then that will impact the final ordinance, which we'll bring back for a formal meeting with the public. So no motion or no action on that. Second item was creation of a Fairfield Housing Trust Fund, something Aaron has been looking into and discussing internally. At this point, we're just kind of throwing out ideas, but it is something some other cities like Oskaloosa, I know Oskaloosa has a trust fund that assists, for example, first-time home buyers, give them a little bit of help with their down payment. Also, if you have a blighted property, the trust fund may help with the demolition of a derelict building. In the case of just taking the building down and not rebuilding, then maybe that would be a loan. But if we had a simple grant process where there was a development agreement worked into it, then perhaps somebody who wants to take a derelict building down and rebuild then could get a grant. So, and the thinking would be that the money spent to help them, we'd recoup once the new property was on the tax roll. So it's more of an investment than anything. And so at this point, the focus has been more on infill development, but it could be opened up to apartments. It could be opened up to all kinds of things. So it's just initial discussion, but any ideas the council have, please direct them to Aaron about how you think that this may work, or any ideas you have in that area. Our third and final item is an action item. It has to do with the electric vehicle charging station grants. We won 2. Melanie and I went on site to both locations. And if, Jason, could you click the Burlington one first? This location, which is over by the public restroom, really is not ideal in many ways. So I put the red bar represents where the charging station could go. And that's not a great place because typically you want it front and center. You want it in front in the middle of the parking space so that the cord can reach any charging port, wherever it may be. Different models of electric vehicles have ports in different places. This is just really not a good place. It's actually kind of difficult to get out on the passenger side because you've got all those bushes, and we don't think the cord may have trouble reaching the back side. So the recommendation is to let this grant go. It's a reimbursement grant, so we never use it. But instead, if you go back to the other one, so the other location, which is much, much better, what we can do here is install, instead of a single port charger, which was what we initially applied for, and that's just the pedestal and then a single charging port. The pedestal is the same, but now it has a port on both sides. So now you've got a dual port charging station. So it would go pretty much where you see it there, between the 2 parking spaces, and then you'd have, again, we maintain that we have 2 charging places downtown. Now they're just next to each other. Overall, this would cost the city less because you're running 1 set of conduit, 1 foundation, installing 1 port instead of 2. It just happens to have 2 plugs. So on the sides, 2 plugs that could be accessed at the same time. And then we'd mark both those spaces with the decal, EV charging station decal. But we were thinking about how to make it so that they could still be used if they had to when there's people maybe needing to run into a business downtown. So we could put a limit on the parking time that you could be in that space, so that we hope to keep them available for charging. So the committee is recommending to the council to formally request a change to the grant for this particular location. I've already run this by the grant administrator, doesn't think it will be an issue. But the only change is it's instead of a single port, which is able to charge one vehicle at a time, we would change it to a dual port, which obviously can charge two, and actually in the end spend less than if we had done the two locations. So we'll still get the reimbursement for 90% and still have two charging stations. So that's the recommendation. I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved to change from two separate locations to one location with two charging ports. And second by Flournoy. Any discussion? I have one question. So is there still one parking place on the very end?
That's a handicap. We're going to leave it.
Okay, that's the
Yep.
handicap. Okay,
And
gotcha.
the reason is that it's a little wider.
Yeah.
Handicap space is a little wider, and we wanted to maintain that.
Right.
It is
Okay.
used quite often. So the one at the very south end is a handicap space. But as you can see in the rightmost picture, it's a very clear shot to the pole that we'll be getting the charging or the power from. So this is going to be a real easy installation. We just
Yeah.
have to trench over, run the conduit, put in a foundation, and then the port will be right on top of that. So
Great.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
So we'll be bringing back an amended agreement for another vote. So we'll
Great.
have
Thank
one
you.
more time.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all that work on that mixed use. I know that's, you guys have been working hard on that, and it's a lot of
Mostly
things to
Melanie.
consider, so
Yeah.
thank you for doing that.
99% Melanie.
1% Allers.
There you go.
Okay, any other committee reports? I don't think so, right? Okay. Administrator and department reports?
You want Dave to come in and talk about trick or treating?
What are you going to dress up as this year?
I think I'm going as a cop again this year.
Could go as a grandpa this year.
Good.
I'm hoping not to go as a grandpa this year. I finally don't have to take kids anymore, so I'm hoping to escape out of that one, but we'll see. After many, many discussions, we finally had several agencies get back to us and recommend trick or treat this year. So our recommendation for council approval is actually the 31st of October, which is a Saturday. We had a few citizens concerned that maybe it was going too late by having it last until 8:30 and maybe too long for 3 hours. So our recommendation now is 5:30 to 8 p.m. on Saturday, October 31st.
I move we approve.
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Anderson. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, that's
Can I
passed
ask one
unanimously.
question?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not discussion, can you share with us what Chris Estel had to say about it?
Yes, immediately gave us the CDC, which is groups smaller than, like we discussed, it starts off as an outdoor event, so it's a lot safer than anything indoor. Most of the kids are going to be in masks already, so it's has a tendency of being, and a lot of the smaller groups are going to be either our parents or families anyway. So there's already that family contact, and it's very limited contact as the kids run to the next door. So everybody was on board, including Chris Estel. She was a lot of help.
Can't take Halloween away.
What's that?
I said you can't take trick or treating away.
No. We didn't want those complaints called in.
Okay.
Although I did have a couple dads ask that we cancel it this year, but I think they were just trying to get out of trick or treat.
All righty. Anything else, Aaron?
No.
Okay. If not, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Gandy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Not here. Good job, yeah.